Welcome, Horror Fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Duff, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Jess.
What's up?
Hey, how's it going? I heard you're going on a plane tomorrow.
I am. I'm going to WrestleMania.
Wrestle.
Dallas.
I
Wrestling.
mean, I usually joke and say that, but in Dallas, they might actually say wrestle.
Oh, absolutely. And Stone Cold Steve Austin's there, so absolutely.
Oh. See, not huge into wrestling, but I'll always be entertained by some Stone Cold.
Oh, yeah. He's doing like a bit. He's going to come out with the beers. I'm so excited. Throw some beer on people.
I do look forward to seeing the videos of that, at least.
Oh, I got you. My social media, it's going to be all wrestling this week. I'm so sorry.
I'll enjoy some of it, at least.
That's fine.
Anyways, let's talk about what we both enjoy. Some Horror Nights. So, nothing new, really, to discuss. We'll talk about a few rumors and stuff. But there's something new on our end, and that's that, hey, we made a TikTok. Look at us. We're young and hip and cool. Right?
All right. What? No. Oh, it's cringy. It's so cringy over on the TikTok.
It wasn't cringy. We have one video. Just made it. It's great. That's at HHN 365 pod because there's some random person that's HHN 365 and they have 0 videos, 0 followers, and 0 likes. So, hey, if you're listening for some random reason, please give us the name. Please. But as always, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN 365. Those are there for you to follow us as well. If you want to join us on the show, leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. And on today's show, we're going to go back and discuss those spec maps again from Horror Night Nightmares for both Orlando and Hollywood, and we're creating tier lists for them.
Yeah, I just learned what those were.
It's
like
true.
10 minutes
It's
ago.
true. Jess actually just gave me her hype list instead. And I was like,
I did.
What? No, tier list. She went, yeah, this, see, right? My list.
Nope, 1 through 10. Right?
So I guess, hey, real quick, if you don't know what a tier list is, pretty popular thing on the internet. It's been more popular in the past, but still around. Basically, you rank things. So we're ranking kind of for our excitement to potentially see these things come. It's S is the highest. Then it's A, B, C, D, E, F, with F being the lowest. So pretty simple. And
yeah, once you look at it.
Let's see.
It makes a lot of sense.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, like for Hollywood, there's literally only enough tiers where there could be one for each house. So that's going to be a little interesting. Not that I don't already have a list and see exactly how it's going to go or anything. But anyways, we do have a couple little rumors first. If you want news, hey, Hollywood construction still visible and still just looking more done every day. So, yeah. Still no weather vane on top of the Curious George tent facade, so sorry, Jess.
It is so a farmhouse. I don't care. They keep adding shit. It is a farmhouse. You can't tell me otherwise.
I mean, I'll go with it. That works. Yeah, sure. So here's a few things, rumor-wise. We slightly mentioned this last week when we were talking about the Fast and Furious location being used for a house and the potential... wasn't even a rumor, more just like kind of discussed. Maybe 2 houses would be there. That's become more of a rumor this week in that neither Shrek nor Men in Black would be used, and there will be 2 houses at Fast and Furious. So not too much else in that rumor, but hey, that's something. There's a little meat to it.
Yeah, I mean, the queue could hold enough people for 2 houses for Fast and Furious, right?
I mean, yeah, they got the 10 out there. And then, you could also use the ride path. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. There's plenty of space in that area. It's a massive show building. You can make it work, for sure. I mean, because at the end of the day, the ride's getting closed no matter what you do. So might as well use as much as you can, right? Oh, also, we have talked about how the tents already sprung up outside, like, the queue area. There is an area of that second room in the queue before the pre-show that is fully, like, blocked off and emptied out, which seems it will be used for something HHN, maybe part of a house, maybe staging, maybe a break room for the team members. Who knows? But I would feel very confident it's for HHN. Now, before we move on from this, The other angle people are looking at this is how it works logistically for the event, mainly for crowd flow. A lot of people are saying, well, that doesn't really help crowd flow. But I would argue, and some other people would as well, that it's actually a little bit better than putting something in Men in Black because you have so much, especially if there's a show at Fear Factor. That's a big part to mention. If there's a show at Fear Factor, you have that dumping out, which always creates a mess. Literally just around the corner, you have two tent houses that are usually very popular and create massive crowds, and it's a small walkway as is and bottleneck. So that whole little corner back there becomes a massive bottleneck. So taking away one of the houses would alleviate a lot of that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we all complain whenever, Nightmare Fuel or whatever is in Fear Factor lets out and they close off the walkway. So the Men in Black house, it becomes a shit show. So that would really help. And then no one would complain anymore.
Yeah. And here's the deal. San Francisco's always a shit show anyways, so
Yeah.
does it really matter if they add more? It's just always going to be a shit show. I would say maybe don't do a scare zone there. I mean, I know we've said this before we even knew about Fast and Furious, but like, if you have one house, yeah, probably shouldn't have it. If you have two, please, 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 please don't have a scare zone in San Fran. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, God, no. That's just going to become the new, bottleneck outside of Fear Factor.
Yeah.
If that is the
Yeah.
case.
I mean, it already was, just with the scare zone alone,
Right.
to be fair. But
Massive sets.
yeah, otherwise, I would say this actually might help guest flow just a little bit. I don't think it's a massive difference, but I think it would alleviate some pressure points throughout the park. And also get people to use walking past London a bit more, because you know that would always be a very open space while other areas were crowded. So I think that would be a path maybe used a bit more, because you have the houses over there, and then it's kind of a clear shot towards Fear Factor for the show. Maybe, well, I don't know. Guests do weird things. They walk weird ways. Who knows?
They walk on things that aren't walkways. That's a conversation for
Yeah,
another
this
story,
is.
another time.
Yeah, so there is one more little rumor. This one is fun because it comes from Alicia Stella. Some of you may know. Really has a lot of inside info. I don't want to say she has inside info. I don't know if she wants it described that way, but breaks some information and rumors about Universal plenty. This one was more of a, she considers a theory of hers rather than info, but it is also kind of matching rumors that people have been bringing up, and that's that there's a huge hint about like a lab, and I believe that led to The Last of Us. And she said, actually, what if it's Stranger Things? If you want to see this over on the Inside Universal forums, you can read everything she said. It's a lot more insightful than what I'm about to say. But basically, hey, maybe Stranger Things is coming to the event. Last week we discussed that maybe there's another Netflix property. Not necessarily two, but maybe there's only one and it's not Fear Street. Who knows? So that's just an interesting little tidbit I thought I'd bring up.
Hey, I mean, Stranger Things sells tickets. We know it does, and season 4 is coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are saying, like, yeah, but, like, it's kind of died down a bit. Yeah, until season 4 comes out. And then it's going to be
Yeah,
massive again.
and season 4 is 2 parts, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Oh, come
May and
on.
July. So
July,
July,
that's
September. I mean, that's pretty decent timing. I gotta say.
September 2nd is practically August.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and
July is
August is
practically
July.
August.
Yeah,
They come out the
absolutely.
same week, basically. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So a double feature, HHN and the premiere is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
Yes.
But yeah, something to keep an eye on potentially, because Alicia Stella is probably the most reputable person I've seen like discuss it in any way. But it has been something that's popped up kind of all over, to be honest. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But like I said, for this episode, we are doing tier lists. These are fully based off what was given by the Horror Night Nightmares spec map. So we're not talking Stranger Things or any random other property you think might be coming. Just those. That's it. Now that just knows what a tier list is, I think we can get started here. We
Fine.
are dividing this Orlando its own, Hollywood its own. I figured that mixing them would have been weird because we have shared properties and stuff, and I think that would have made things more complicated and us potentially shitting on Hollywood when we don't mean to be doing it, potentially.
Mhm.
Just might disagree, but I kind of just decided that, and oops, my bad. So let's start. Well, let's start with Hollywood. It's a little shorter, so get that out of the way.
Perfect. That's the first one on my like in order
Okay.
on my
All
list.
right. Well, let's actually take a look at their spec map. We'll just kind of go in order of what they have down, and we will talk about where we put them. So the first one we can go over is, yeah, we'll do it from the top. Universal Monsters: The Mummy. Where do you have that?
A B? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I have it. I have it in B. So here's my thing. The Mummy is not my monster. Like everyone has their favorite monster. I've said it. I said it before when the excuse me. Spec map came out. I had my monster. Bride was my monster. So I'm excited to see the Mummy, but it's not S for me. It's not even A. I won't even lie.
Wow. Well, you know what? The Mummy is my monster, and I have the Mummy at S. Um,
That makes sense.
yeah. I mean, if I could pick one monster to call my favorite, it's the Mummy. I'm not gonna lie. It stems from the 1999 film The Mummy. um, Although I also have a love for the classics that was shown to me by my grandparents. I had the box set that had The Mummy and The Mummy's Hand and all those older Mummy films, which I also truly enjoyed. Which this would be about. Um, but still, I have a huge love for that monster in general. So kind of just being its own the mummy house, I'm sorry, maze, it gets S tier automatically.
That makes sense. Well, I can't wait to see it for you if it comes.
Me too. So the next one we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Where you
It's
go?
funny because that's also in the same tier for me. It's B.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. I was slightly concerned we both have it really low, just because I think when we saw it in the house, it wasn't the greatest thing ever, to say the least.
Yeah. So my thing is, I watched Hollywood's video a lot. Didn't get to experience it, and I think it looked better. It looked like more fun. So just kind of knowing, like maybe it's that same one or plus. So I put it a little higher. I probably would have put it lower had I had seen it or it was not good. But yeah,
So
B.
I had really conflicting thoughts about this one. When I was picturing what my list would look like when I first was thinking about, oh, tier list, what am I going to do? I kind of felt like Killer Clowns would be really low. Then when I was like starting to build that list in that short period, I was like, oh, this might end up like higher than I thought, like pretty high, just because it's a really fun franchise. I've had a lot of fun with the characters at the event in the past, and I kind of settled on a C. And I think while I do want to see what they have done, I would also hope it changes a bit for everyone else's sake.
Mhm.
I think just the fact that when I saw it in the house, it wasn't the most impressive thing, and it was also kind of like I don't know how much more you can do as far as a house goes, or a maze in this case, and also the fact that we literally just saw it a couple years ago. So I think a C is kind of you're passing. I'm not mad about you, but I'm much more excited for other things.
C's fair. It's like it's middle of the road. I get it.
Hey, it's a better student than I am.
Sam, let's not even get into that.
Next, we have The Evil Dead. Where you got it, Jess?
I feel like this is not going to shock anyone. That is an S tier for me,
Ooh.
baby. Original. I love me some Evil Dead. If you haven't seen the original, I'm dying for it. I think Hollywood would have a lot of fun with it too. Like just kind of thinking about that as a maze. They also would probably cast it really well. I hope they wouldn't put the full masks on them like they did in
Mm,
Ash versus the Evil Dead. I'm not gonna think about that. But hoping they go about it a better way than that in the maze, it has to be an S tier for me because that is like one of my hoping it comes houses. That's like a dream list for me.
I mean, that's fair. Kind of my mummy reasoning at the end of the day. Just
Right.
it's a property I want to see done.
Literally. It's not Beetlejuice. It's not my Beetlejuice, but it is up there for me.
So I got to be honest. Originally, I was thinking about putting this in A, but then I looked at the other two. No, I gave it away. Yeah, there's two in A. The other two I put in A, and it wasn't quite at the same level. So I brought it down to a B, but I'll call it a high B. It's a property I'm interested in, especially if this is the first film. I think that's a very different take to anything Evil Dead we've seen at Horror Nights before. Um, much less of the goofy. I mean, like think of Ash vs. Evil Dead, right? And more
Right.
serious, like the first one is. So, I mean, it's a property I really enjoy. A completely different take on it, just based off it being the first one, if it is. So that alone carries it all the way up to a B.
Fair. Totally understand.
This next one I know is going to be a little interesting because we talked about not knowing much about it last week because it's not out yet and the details are sparse, and that is Nope.
Yeah, I feel bad because I could not put this higher than where I put it at D, and that was just because I felt like I'm not that excited about it because I don't know anything about it. It's just kind of there.
Yeah. So I kind of had the same thought process, but at the same time, I put it at C just because I feel like that's middle of the road, and with me not knowing anything about it, but also knowing there's a good chance that it's a film I'll enjoy, just based off Peele's track record. That I feel like just putting it at C sounds like a fair, you know, it's like when you're taking a test and you don't know the answer, you pick C.
Oh my
So
god,
that's
that's
what I
always the
did.
answer.
Next we have Scarecrow. Ooh.
Oh, oh, I mean, I feel like hopefully we're the same on this. This is S tier for me. This has got to be like, come on, I need to see what they're gonna do with it in a maze. It was one of my favorites in 27 over here. So,
I'm gonna let you down just a tad, unfortunately.
oh come on, Duff.
I put it at an A
That's fair.
because I just worry that
Mm,
it's not gonna live up to our expectations. And obviously, I think we would both agree we don't expect it to be what Orlando's was. I think that's a
no.
expecting that of any house or maze would be kind of ridiculous. But also, it's again a track record thing. I don't trust Hollywood to pull it off quite as much as I would Orlando. But also, if it was in Orlando as a house, like I wouldn't trust them to make the sequel as good, and I probably wouldn't put it in an S for that reason. So I think it's more just Scarecrow in my mind. Even if this isn't directly related, which it probably isn't, and even if it is, like I have the idea of what it is and what it should be so highly regarded in my mind that it's almost impossible to touch. So I'm gonna just bring back my expectations a bit to make myself feel better.
So you're just being a pessimist.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So you just don't want to see them succeed, or you're
No,
just
no,
kind of
no, no.
afraid.
It's not that I don't want them to. It's what I expect to happen.
But you can't. I feel like this is something, and we'll probably get into this conversation the closer we get if this actually gets announced and all that. I feel like we gotta stop directly comparing, even if it's the same property, because they do not approach the houses in the same way, or mazes,
No, no, no,
whatever,
no, no.
at all. So we got to get out of that mindset. I feel like, I mean, I'm guilty of it all the time, but especially with like Scarecrow, we all love that maze so much over here on the East Coast that like we got to kind of take a deep breath and understand that it's John Murdy doing Scarecrow.
Yeah, exactly. So that's again, no offense, why it's A.
Yeah, I get it. I think I'm trying to think positively about it
Hey,
because I want it to be good.
I want it to be my favorite house of the event. Actually, I want the
I
mummy. I
know.
want I want a lot of the houses. I want all of them to be my favorite of the event. But I know it's not going to happen. So something's got to not BS. I mean, spoiler: most aren't. And Scarecrow's one of them. But it like again, it's an A. But like, I want it to be an S. I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, I have one of those that we're going to get to in a second. And I know it's flipped for you. So we'll get there.
Okay. Yep. Got it. Got it. All right. So the next one we have is La Llorona.
Okay. I might have ranked this one a little high because this is one of those houses I've watched the video 1,000 times. I really wanted to go through it back when it was a maze. I put it at A.
Mm.
I couldn't not. I don't know. I'm that excited to see it kind of come back and see what they can do, years down the road. And I just want to see it.
Jess, you might be surprised, but I took this the exact opposite direction.
Hmm.
And because I enjoyed the one in Orlando, I have seen POVs of the one in Hollywood and thought it looked great. And kind of in the same vein as Scarecrow, really worried about following that up and doing it again. And I brought it all the way down to a D.
I'm not mad at you for that. I probably ranked it a little higher because I didn't have a lot of time to think this through.
Yeah, I like. I kind of feel bad for doing it again because I've liked what I've seen in the past, and it's looked really good on video for Hollywood. But that worries me. That worries me. They've had a good one before. Why touch it again? It's bad juju. Bad juju. D. Just for that
I get that.
reason.
So what would that be in the middle, like a C plus for that house between both of us?
Yeah, yeah, just about. I think that's a fair score,
Yeah, for a returning house, absolutely. Or maze. I need to get in the habit of saying maze for Hollywood.
right? I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Hollywood people if they made tier lists. Put that in an E or an F.
That's not even on the tier list stuff.
I got
That's
it
exactly.
as a Y actually, but yeah, to be honest, if it was coming back in Orlando, it would be really low for me because we have an expectation of things not returning, and we're suddenly okay with it because it's Hollywood, which is slightly greedy of us. I'm okay with that. Yes, I'm being greedy about it. That it's not very low.
Well, yeah, same. I mean, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I have not been to Hollywood, and that sways how I think. But if it came back to Orlando, I would probably be one of the first people bitching on Twitter. So I am no better than any of you.
I mean, maybe than some of you.
It's fine.
All right, the final house for Hollywood. We are not going to do Terror Tram or Jabberwockies. In case you're wondering, Jabberwockies is like an F minus. Um, the Weekend.
So this is that one where I said I couldn't put it as S because I don't know enough of the content.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had my weekend education from you. So I put it at an A, but I am fully expecting it to be like God tier if we get it. So,
So for Hollywood,
oh,
there are just concerns of the space it could potentially be in and how that's utilized, and just again more track record. Now, I will say, I think John Murdy has a pretty good history in Hollywood in general. Has a pretty good history with music houses, right, or
hmm
musician based houses. Also, maybe some not so great ones, but it's not enough worry to drop it super low. Still an A for me. And I think there's also this thing that while I'm excited, I am very cautious about how you pull off a weekend house effectively. I think there's a lot of good that can come from it, and I think it could also be taken completely interesting and, I mean, kind of wrong way. So, you know, excited but cautious. I think A is kind of the right frame for that.
I'm shocked, but I get
Me
it.
too.
I get it.
But I also fully expect it to actually be like really great. But again,
Yeah, I feel
A
like
is a really good, like, that's good. If you've got something in an A, that's a really good maze.
absolutely, especially like okay, not to shit on Hollywood, but to shit on Hollywood for to have Hollywood. Yeah, I I don't
I
know.
mean, going to Hollywood last year, um, I would say if I made a tier list, I my highest rating for any of the mazes would have been an A. I don't think it would have had an S, and I think only Bride would have been an A, and everything else there would have been quite a few Bs. To be fair, but just to show you like how good an A would be, anyways. So and on my hype list here, I got an S and two A's.
Okay.
Hey, so that's some good expectations for you, Hollywood. This is not knocking you one bit.
Oh, and I have extremely high expectations apparently.
Yeah, I
So
guess. Do you want to recap them real quick? Just read back your list. What you got?
yeah, I had Scarecrow and Evil Dead at S. I had La Llorona and The Weekend at A. Killer Clowns and The Mummy at B, and then all the way down at D, I had Nope.
So we had the same range. We both went S to D. In S, I had the Mummy. In A, I had Scarecrow and the Weekend. In B, I had Evil Dead. In C, I had Nope and Killer Clowns. And in D, I had La Llorona.
Respectable lists, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. I didn't want to put it on the list because it's kind of weird to compare it to houses in like this form. But since you have not been to Hollywood, I feel like your excitement level for it probably would be pretty high. Where would you rank Terror Tram if you had to?
Okay, if it was probably anything other, not anything other than Hollywood Harry, it'd probably be, I would say A. I am that excited for the Terror Tram, but Hollywood Harry might knock it down to a B just because they've done
Mm.
it so many times.
Oh, okay.
And clowns don't really do it for me. They don't scare me that much, and I don't really like vibe with like it. They're not my thing. I'm very so about clowns. So
That's fair. That's fair.
I just want to walk through the sets. That's all it is.
It is pretty cool. All right.
I'm gonna geek.
Well, let's move on to the coast we're a little bit more comfortable with. The one that we probably have higher expectations for. We expect more out of, so we'll see how that affects it. The first one we'll start with here is Universal Monsters: The Mummy vs. the Wolfman.
I had this exactly at the same as B.
Okay.
Same reasons. It's the Mummy. I already said it. I love the Mummy, but this is versus the Wolfman, so that would be again. The Wolfman's not my monster. I love him. I would rather have just the Mummy. I think I would rank it higher in Orlando if it was just the Mummy. It would probably be an A because I think that if they just focus on one thing, they do it really well.
Well, I'm actually the same exact train of thought there. That if you take off the Wolfman and it was just a Mummy house, I probably have it in S tier here. But hey, I ended up putting it all the way at B. And saying that, that sounds a little low. I feel like I'd want to put it A. We'll call it borderline, but sticking to B, which is a pretty big change for me. S to B, just because you added like the versus thing. But I mean, I think maybe that's more personal disappointment if that's what we get and not just a mummy house. And me just not accepting that it's not a mummy house only. Um, but yeah, I think it's a concept that could work, but I'd be a little bit more worried about the execution than if it was just a straight up the mummy house.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what do we have next? We'll go Seaside Village.
Oh, okay. This one, I'm very excited for this if it actually does come to fruition. I really enjoyed Dead Man's Wharf. Like, obviously, I didn't get to see it. I'm gonna keep repeating that, but the character design and everything, I would love to see. If this is the rumored prequel or sequel. Um, and originals are my bread and butter, especially Orlando originals. So they're always gonna be kind of higher for me. I put this at A.
I mean, that's a pretty fair ranking, but mine's a well, same vein. It's funny because last week we talked about how like can't discuss the originals too much because like we don't know anything about them. I just gave Nope a C because I don't know anything about it. It's S tier for me, actually. It
Wow.
is again like that kind of just like water based, somewhere around the water, in the water, doesn't matter. Like that's something I've always wanted to see executed really well. I mean, it makes it clear it's going to be somewhere along those lines, even if it's not fully explaining what's going on. So I'm going to be hype about it. So I'm putting it S tier.
Do you think they're gonna put another lifeguard in the house? I had to ask.
Um, yes, I will put money
Where
on
do
it.
I apply? Where do I apply to be the lifeguard? I am so qualified. I was a lifeguard at Disney. Please, Universal,
Oh, you got it. You're good. You're good.
let me lifeguard in this house. But S tier, hey, I mean, it probably will move to S tier once we get more information if it's actually true for me. That is like, I love a climate house. That house, we're gonna, it might feel humid in there. We're gonna have like the sea scents. Let's go. I'm ready.
100% down with that. So next one we have Fear Street.
Okay. I have never been like the loudest Fear Street fan. I put it at C. It's very middle of the road for me. I think that as a house, it would be fantastic done by Universal. But also, I was not fully invested in the series or the franchise when it came out. I never finished the third one. Like, if that tells you anything, I loved the first and the second one, part one and two, fantastic. I just don't know how they combine all three of them, I guess, to make it work. So that's kind of why it's in the middle of the road for me.
So for me, if I was just judging how much I enjoyed the trilogy itself, I would probably put it at a B, I would say. Um, but looking at like the possibilities, the amount of settings, and the diversity of killers, there's just so many options and so many things you can see. And I think that's one of the strongest suits you can have in an IP. Just having so many different places to go, and it has that. And I think honestly, the trilogy sets up a story so well. For me, that's starting in 1666 and going all the way up to 94. I think that would be a great chronological story to tell, and I think it works really well. And it's an A for me.
Wow. So I just need to finish the trilogy and then I'll be behind this, is what you're saying.
I mean, no, I'm not going to promise you that.
That's what it sounds like.
All I said is I think the settings would work and the story works. That's all. That's all.
I hear you. I if it comes, I'm excited.
You
But
might watch 1666 and be like, actually, it's a D. I don't know.
oh my god, stop.
Uh,
It just wasn't my thing. It also came out too long ago, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep saying it.
Speaking of D's or lower, the next one is The Last of Us.
Well, D's are lower. I have that at an E. Um, which is funny because nothing on Hollywood got that low for me.
Yeah.
I guess that just kind of speaks volumes about me with this property. It's not something I'm super invested in, and I know it's a zombie game, but it's not a zombie game, as I've been told exhaustingly. Um,
I mean, it's kind of a
I,
zombie game, let's be
it
honest.
is, but it's more than that. Is like what I keep hearing from everyone when I say it's a zombie game.
Isn't
So,
every zombie
uh,
movie or game or show at the end of the day more than that?
right. Thank you. It just it's not tickling my fancy. I am more excited for, I guess, eight other, I guess, spoiling something, eight other houses that are on the spec map. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
actually also have it as an E, which is lower than anything I did in Hollywood as well. It is, I mean, basically what you said. Like, one, it's tough to get excited about zombies unless there's a very specific reason I should be.
Mhm.
Um, I, again, like, I don't know the places you go, the story. It's a fun video game. I don't see the translation to a house that much. So, I don't know. It doesn't tickle my fancy.
Exactly. Someone will be mad about it, but if it tickles your fancy, you
Hey,
can put
yeah.
it at F,
Put it A, put it S.
wherever you want to put it.
If you're even meaner than us, put it in F because I kind of almost did. I'm not going to lie. But I thought, hey, at least I enjoyed the game. So, like, I'm not going to do an F.
I did not play the game, so I actually had it written in F, and then I scribbled it out because I said that felt too mean.
Well, you're allowed to be mean. That's our show. That's what we do.
Yeah, but I like to give everything, a fair shot, even if it's something like I really don't want to. Even Tooth Fairy. Teeth is like one of my big fears that make me super uncomfortable. I wouldn't have put that at F. I would have put it higher than that just to give it a shot.
I mean, that's fair. But at least that's
I
like,
try.
it would make you uncomfortable, and that's kind of the point of the houses. So, like, extra points for that, I guess. I don't know. Anyways,
No.
we're all everyone's kind of on the side of this probably isn't coming, so we might even not have to worry about this. But if it does, I guess you have to play the game or watch walkthroughs, and we'll see how you feel about them.
I would attempt to play the game, maybe a little bit. I do. I love video games, so I would try.
That's fair. I mean, it's a fun game. I enjoy it as a story mode. So,
Maybe one day.
what do we have next? El Chupacabra.
Oh, okay. Now we're gonna go higher up on the list.
Well, I'm sure everything will be
Except one, like I said.
okay. Almost.
El Chupacabra. I have it at B. Again, an original. You can't go wrong with that. I had to lower it a little bit just because that conversation we had in the last episode. I just hope we approach it the right way. I'm always kind of skeptical when it's something having to do with any kind of culture or anyone, native area or whatever. Um, and there are other originals I'm a little bit more excited for, and even IPs. So yeah, I think B is a really good where we have it right now, not knowing a lot.
Yeah, and I actually put it at the same place. I feel like it's something I could be very excited for. Um, I kind of limited it because of, again, I worry about how they execute it, and whether that's in an inappropriate way or taking
Mm-hmm.
advantage of anybody, or many different ways they could go that would make it not so great. So that's one thing holding me back. And then also, again, while I get very excited for originals, as you saw, I put Seaside Village at S. There's always that little bit of this early on. I don't know much about it other than Chupacabra, so I think B's fair.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, another original next. And this one, yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. Underground Creatures.
All right. So this is my only original I put in S. Um,
Oh,
I talked about it in the last episode. I love rodents and like creatures that dwell underground and stuff like that. So I can't imagine me not loving this house. Obviously, it can go a completely different way, but even if it's like some kind of like human mole people hybrid thing, that could be really cool. I think the climate could be cool. This, like in my head, it can't fail. Obviously, they can let me down. It could be something completely out of left field or not even underground creatures. But right now, in Jess's brain, this is like a perfect house for me.
yeah, we actually just swapped Seaside Village and Underground Creatures because this ended up at an A for me. Again, it's probably the one we know the least about based off their names as far as originals go. Um, that could be a negative. That could also be a positive. That my mind can kind of go wherever it wants. And while it still doesn't know, I think the potential is there for some really great shit. If you put underground in it, I don't know. I feel like that's always kind of a cool start, just based off that. And knowing the originals again at Horror Nights, that's you know. And this one is in the old Perimeter House, so B79.
Even
So
better.
that's a pretty solid location for. Again, we don't know a lot about it, but it sounds like a pretty solid location for what's in my head. So I feel like, yeah, A. It wasn't close to S. I'll say that much. It was closer to B
Okay.
than it was to S, but it's an A.
I get that. We all can't be crazy like me.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Fine.
Speaking of crazy, hey, this next one for you is The Evil Dead.
Oh. Well, speaking of S, this I can't not. I put it in S. No, I put it in A in Hollywood. Excuse me. But I feel like if it happens, Orlando's is gonna knock Hollywood's out of the park. Um, so I had to put it higher than that. This is again one of my dream houses. I love I love when they do anything from the Evil Dead franchise. I enjoyed Ash vs. Evil Dead. I enjoyed the walkthroughs I've seen of the remake, I guess. Whatever. But yeah, this one cannot fail in my head. That's all it is.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I'd say the only argument for me is I've kind of not fail, but I've seen an Evil Dead house that I did not particularly love.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like I'm kind of just stuck on Ash vs. Evil Dead, which isn't fair at all because the Evil Dead would be a much different tone. I've seen them
Yep.
do the Evil Dead. I mean, I don't know if it was that much better than Ash vs. Evil Dead, actually. They were kind of. Anyways, I feel like it is something they could execute very well. I'm just a little timid of the property with what they've done, which, fair or not, put it down at a B for me, which isn't bad. I'm saying it like I just put it at a D or something, but it's a B. Um, I'm excited cautiously. Very cautiously, though.
I get that. It's not this house is something that would draw like not draw people, but they would be like, "Oh, yeah, I like the Evil Dead." And then they'll go in. But this is a house that is very niche for me that I need to see. Is all it is.
Yeah, no, I think when it's something you love, I'll get there. Uh, you
Yeah.
you try not to look at the faults that are
Mhm.
possible, and you just go, yep, need it in my life.
Yep. Perfection.
This next one is not that for me, unfortunately, even though I love the property in general, and that's Halloween.
Okay. So I was talking about the one that was joining The Last of
Uh
Us.
oh.
Unfortunately, it is gonna be Halloween,
Oh,
and
you
that
mean
is just
fortunately, because there was only one other option after this, and I was hoping it wasn't that.
no. I was that was unfair. I feel like F is unfair. It's still Halloween. It's still Michael Myers. It's still, it's gonna bring people in. It's people are gonna go through the house. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna feel like a Halloween maze, like obviously. But when you look at the other 8 on the spec map, like I don't want to see it. I really don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so I treated it a little more kindly than you did. I put it in a C. Um, while I don't need to see it. It does not need to come. The thing is, I've seen some absolute banger Halloween houses.
Mhm.
Um, obviously Halloween from HHN 24, like one of the best IP houses ever. Even Hell Comes to Haddonfield, I thought was a pretty phenomenal house. To be fair, Halloween 4 we won't talk about unless you want to talk about the Hollywood one that I saw last year,
I
which was
didn't
pretty
hate
solid.
it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just like I don't know. It comes also with like the score bumping in the park, maybe. I think it helps just the atmosphere around the property as a whole. I feel like
Sure.
middle of the road C. It's pretty fair, and no surprise, it's going to be my only C based on what the next property is. So, very middle of the road for everything here.
Yeah.
Well, that last one, of course, is the weekend.
Right.
How you feeling on the Orlando side?
This might surprise you, but I actually put it at S.
Oh, wait, really?
Well, and that's because I think Orlando is going to do it so much better than Hollywood. And I put Hollywood at an A. So in my logic, if Orlando's gonna, blow them out of the water, it has to be an S, even though I don't know much about, his music. Just from what I've seen, I think he is horror. Like all of the imagery I'm seeing and all I know, I'm over the arguments. I'm so sick of it. And honestly, that might have raised it a higher for me just because I want to see people get their shit rocked.
I mean, yeah, that helps a bit too. Like, if we were talking Billie Eilish still, like I think that'd have
Right.
been just higher because I want people to be upset when it's good, you know.
Literally.
So that helps too. But also, I don't need to give any other reason other than he is probably my favorite artist currently. Been following him for a long time. Went to his first ever tour 10 years ago now, at House of Blues Orlando.
Oh my
He's just like that artist for me. I feel like everyone has at least one where like I've been watching them or I've been listening to them since like the start, and now they're huge. Well, that's
God.
the weekend for me. Important artist, heavily in my rotation to say the least, and has been forever. So him crossing over with Horror Nights, like where else am I going to put it but an S?
I'm
And
not
that's not to
surprised.
say I don't have concerns. I think one is the execution, like same as Hollywood. Like it could go so many different ways that they could take it in a direction that's like, oh, why? Why'd you do that? And
Mhm.
then also just because it has to live up to the expectation of it's a property that I love, so you got to meet that. So still that cautious aspect, but I believe in Orlando just a bit more to be able to hit it. I put in that S tier.
Exactly.
So that's it for houses. Again, we didn't rank anything else. The other show, or the show that they have on here, is Marathon of Mayhem. That would be, I mean, it would be high
Did we
for
do
me.
Pandora's box?
Did we not?
I don't think we did.
Oh, sorry, Pandora's Box. That's a D for me, in case you were wondering. Yeah, I really enjoyed Hollywood's, but it has the makings of not being great in any other situation, or that one
Yeah.
for that matter, because it just kind of worked very surprisingly.
Yeah, I have it at a C, not much higher, but that's just because I would like to see it, and I hope they do it right.
Yeah. And I feel like putting it at D maybe is a little rude because like
Nah,
that's assuming they're gonna do what Hollywood did, which they probably won't. Let's be honest.
no.
But that's what I've seen, so that's where my mind's going. So I'm gonna say we don't need to take their original. We can do our own, and I still don't fully expect it to come anyways. So I'm not too worried about where I'm putting it on the tier list. But that's for another show, I guess.
Yeah. Meh.
Yeah. So that's all we got for houses. Hollywood, Orlando. Real quick, do you want to read back what you have for Orlando?
Uh, Yeah. Oh my god. Sorry, I moved the paper. So I had in S, The Weekend, Evil Dead, and Underground Creatures. In A, Seaside Village. B, El Chupacabra and Mummy versus the Wolfman. C was Fear Street and Pandora's Box. And then down in E was Last of Us and Halloween.
And in S, I had The Weekend and Seaside Village. In A, I had Fear Street and Underground Creatures. In B, The Mummy vs. Wolfman, The Evil Dead, and El Chupacabra. In C, I had Halloween, D, Pandora's Box, and E, The Last of Us. So, hey, we never used an F on either coast, so that's
Hey,
nice of us.
look at that
I
progress.
very
Well,
easily
progress
could
for me.
have. Just gonna say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do this for every speculation map. That sounds a little overboard. So I'll probably say no, we won't. But we kind of didn't have anything else to talk about this week because last week we covered not only the spec maps but the announcement they made. So as you know, we're kind of cursed, and they're going to release an announcement or new spec map the day that we post or the day after we post. That's just how it works. So you're welcome, everyone. You're going to get some news soon, apparently.
Yep.
What else? Next week, we probably won't have an episode unless there is big news. As just mentioned, she will be at WrestleMania. Try not to disturb her while she's there.
It's okay.
And
If we have to, we have to.
if we do, hopefully it's a usable episode. Unlike when I interrupted my vacation and it meant nothing.
We're not talking to Craig anymore.
Fucking Craig. At least he won't scare you anymore. He can't hurt you anymore.
He can't hurt me. That would be my 13th reason house is a Discord Craig house. There we go.
So, we are currently looking for more permanent solutions to how we record. The current option isn't bad in the meantime, but we want something that's like very reliable and
Yeah.
great quality. We'll find it. We'll get there. Until then, this is working fine, though. But Craig, you're done. We can't talk to you anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's not us. It's you.
Yeah, no, that's true. Fuck you, Craig.
It's been Craig.
The whole time?
We don't talk about Craig.
I mean, no, I definitely talk shit about him. Does that count? That's talking.
No. Oh my god. I guess. All right.
What else? What else? Like we said, we got a TikTok. We also just started one of those communities on Twitter. We have no idea what that is, but we created one. So come talk about Horror Nights there. Yeah, I know, right? Why did I talk? Why did I say it like that? I mean, to be fair, it's brand new. Like, it's a brand new feature, and I'm not in one, so I can't really speak to how they work. But it sounds cool, I guess. Hey, we got one. Come join it. We'll see how it works together.
Yeah. There we go. It's a learning community for everyone.
Exactly. We're here to. Well, we're not here to teach. We're here to learn from you.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. That's all we got. You got anything else? No. I don't even know what to say. I was going to say about something, but I don't even know what to talk about. So I guess we'll just call it here. Hopefully, we don't have to interrupt Jess, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. But if not, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you in the streets.